Hello all, welcome to the next video in the series on the Ranunculus. We're doing a knit along at Sundragon Art and Fiber, and I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sundragon Art and Fiber. We have a Facebook Sundragon KAL page, which is a great place to go for resources and help. I'm making some videos as I go. I'm not making videos on everything. That would probably kill me. I'm doing this alongside running a full-time business of a local yarn shop in downtown Brevard, North Carolina. So head to the Facebook page for help from other knitters. I assist as I can, but I may not be making videos on everything. Full disclaimer. Okay, so I've gotten far enough. Take a look at the color change in the thicker one that I'm making. I've gotten far enough that I'm through section 3, which is the really pretty yoke. And section 4 is where you need to finally pick a size. Everything's been the same for everybody. I don't know if you've noticed that up until this point. And now there are like 11 sizes to choose from. So you have to make some decisions on how much positive ease, how much space you want around you. It's designed to be really roomy. I am making this one, I'm probably gonna make like a size 5, and it won't be as roomy as maybe it should be. I have like a 43-inch bust, and I'm picking the size that comes out to be about 55. Now, well, let me back up. It's designed to have potentially as much as 18 inches of positive ease if you want that. If you want less, go with less. The smallest size is like a 46. So if you want something smaller than a 46, you have to figure that out. The other thing is the magic of this that I love, since it's oversized, I just grab a size 10 needle and do whatever I like with it. Like, I don't test my gauge, which is a shocker for some people, including myself. If I want something to fit, I test my gauge. Now is the point where you might want to measure what your gauge is in here somewhere to see if you are on par with hers, if you want the same roominess as hers. All that being said, there's charts when you start section 4 that kind of map out, but it's also written out where you should be dividing for your back and front and sleeves. And that's what we're going to go over today, is both in this video. This video is going to do 2 things. It is going to go over sleeve. It is going to go over putting in your markers for the raglan increases. That's what we're doing here. And it's going to go over how to do those raglan increases, because she has 2 stitches in here. One is called a knit back front, and one is a knit front and back. I have a video already on knit front and back, but I'll show it to you in here. Now, her example, her definition of a knit back front is different than what I did on my first ranunculus. I finally watched her video and went, oh, that's different. So don't worry if you've already done your knit back fronts, or if you try this one out and you go, this is crazy, I'm not doing it. You can do a knit front back for both of them. It'll just look a little different than how she designed it. You'll still get your increases in if you do that. So let's go over these 2 things that are pretty instrumental to section 4. And let's get to it. What we're going to be doing in the very beginning of section 4 is setting up your stitch markers for your raglan increases. Now, I have a whole video on this one as well, I think, with my whiteboards, demonstrating what raglan increases are. Essentially, they are increases in 4 places. They will be, if you're looking at the front of your sweater, between the front and the sleeve, the back, the sleeve and the back in the sleeve, and the sleeve in the front. There'll be 2 in the front and 2 in the back. If you think about the baseball type jerseys that have separate sleeves, they have this angled seam. This sweater is a pretty neat combination. It's a pretty neat combination. So far, we've been doing all over increases, and we're about to only increase in 4 places. So it combines 2 different types of sleeve increases throughout the yoke section. So pick your size, and then this end of round marker is going to end up being in the middle of the back. If you remember, we did a whole bunch of short rows here in the back that's centered around this end of round marker. So following her instructions, and again, this is not meant to replace the pattern. This is meant to supplement it. Please buy her pattern off of Ravelry and use the information there. She has a very well-written pattern. I like the new version of it that has pictures. Right now, she's got a gray band in her pattern around the spot that we're doing. Since we are adding 4 stitch markers in addition to this one for the increases for the sleeves, but this one will only be marking the end of round and we don't want to increase at it, I find it's very helpful if this marker is different than the ones you're putting on. The only other ones I have here are more of the same, so I'm actually going to take this one off, and I have a different shape stitch marker here that I'm going to put as my new end of round marker. I recommend either a different color or a different shape or a different size here, so you know that this one is different than the ones you're putting in, because stitch markers are really to either help you count or to help you know when to do something different. And in this case, this marks something different than the other ones do. So I'm going to go ahead and knit across half of my back as instructed and place my marker. So I'll meet you when I get there. I think I'm at the right amount for me to place my first marker. I'm going to go back and check my stitch count really quickly. Yes, I'm in the right spot. So I'm going to put a stitch marker on. This is dividing between my back and my sleeve. So now I'm going to stitch the right number for my size for the sleeve. And I'm going to double check this one. I'm going to put another stitch marker on. I'm going to make the borders for this sleeve match. Why not? Because I had 2 yellows in there. I don't have any more, so I'll do one different colors for the other side. Now I'm going to knit all the way across the front. This number is going to be your biggest number because the back is broken in half. So if this number is really big, trust it. All right, I've double checked my count on this side. Let's use, use yellow over there. Let's use red over here. Kind of matches the color scheme. Now I'm heading into the second sleeve. So I'm going to stitch the number it says to do for that. I've double checked my stitch count here so I can put my last added stitch marker on. And there's one more number to get me back to my beginning of round marker here. And the correct number between this sleeve stitch marker and my beginning of round or end of round marker happened. So yay! If that doesn't work out there, you don't have to back everything out. You can slip. If you slip stitches purlwise, just put your needle in and slip over. You can slip all the way around and double check your stitch count and move stitch markers that are not in the right place. Now she has you for the different sizes in her pattern. Again, I'm not going to show the pattern because you should buy it. She has rounds 1 and 2, and 1 is an increase round where you're increasing around these. If I can try to put it in the screen here so we can see, I have 2 markers over here that mark out a sleeve, and I have 2 markers over here. Round 1 is going to have you increase on either side of this marker, and then round 2 is going to have you just do what I like to call a set round to solidify your increases. Now she's going to have you do round 1 and 2 a certain number of times, and for some sizes that could be 0, and then she's going to have you do just round 1 a certain number of times. So that means you're increasing on every row a certain number of times. And you can always check your stitch count every time you finish part of her instructions. At the end, she has a stitch count of where you should end up, which is very, very helpful. So before we end this video, I want to go over this knitting to 1 stitch before the marker, knit back front. She has it like in capitals, that back part. Slip the marker, knit front back. I'm going to go over it with you 4 times in each of my 4 increases so you can hopefully get the sense of it. She has a video on this, which is just her doing it without words. if that is helpful as well. I'm going to talk you through it. So right now, I'm going to knit over to my first stitch marker, and I will meet you there, and we will talk through what a knit back front is for Midori. Now, if you were to just knit the back like this, and then come around and knit the front, it's not going to give you the look that she wants. This is really similar to a knit front back with a little twist. We want the increased stitch to be on the other side. So I'm going to back that out. When she says knit back front, so the front of the stitch is, if we were to spread this loop out, or if I were even to take it off the needle, we have the right side of the stitch is usually what's hanging out on the front of the needle, and the left side is what's hanging out on the back. If it's correctly positioned on your needle, this is what it looks like. So we need to get the back side into the front to knit it. So we're going to take your needle, slip your stitch knitwise, and then put it back on your left needle. Now we're going to knit into what is now the front, but was the back. So knit it. It's going to feel a little twisty, and you actually want to let it drop off. Now we want to knit into the front part of the stitch that is here. So take your left needle, put it under the front strand, which is, technically it's kind of the right side of the stitch right now, but it's what's crossing over in front. So scoop under it to pick it up. And then actually knit it through the back loop. I know that sounds weird, but don't try to twist it again. It'll get a little crazy. Just stick your needle straight in, wrap around, and knit it. What happens, see that? It makes the bump stick off on the right side instead of the left, and you have a fairly flat stitch. It might look a little loose right now, but you have a fairly flat stitch right there. Hang on to that. We'll do it at the next intersection. But I'm going to slip my marker, as she says, and then I'm going to knit front and back. Now, this is a more normal stitch, so she hasn't capitalized anything. A knit front and back, I like to call it doing 3/4 of the stitch. So you go in the regular way, wrap your yarn or pick it, doesn't matter how you hold your yarn, and come back under. That's the third part of a stitch. The fourth part would be to take this off, but we're not going to do that. Instead, take your needle, your right needle, move it around, flip it around to the back so you can get under the back side of that stitch and do the same thing. Push in, wrap around, duck under to the front through that same hole you went in through, and come off the back. Now, if you take a look at what happened, we have a lump, a little purl bump sticking out way over here, and a little purl bump sticking out way over here. It keeps it balanced. It's actually very cool that she figured that out. So let me knit to the next marker, because you're going to repeat this. You're going to repeat it so there's 4 times total. That was my first, heading towards my second now. Okay, I'm 1 stitch before the marker. Remember, this is the front and this side is the back of the stitch. She wants us to knit the back side first. So we're going to, with our right needle, we're going to slip the stitch knitwise. Let me do that again. That twists it. You're not slipping purlwise. You're coming over like you're going to knit it, but you move it across. Slide it back by just putting it straight, your left needle straight in. Knit the front of it, which will feel twisted. Let it off your left needle. Catch the front of this stitch, the one that is sliding and twisted across. Come in from behind with your left needle to pick it up. Grab the stitch you've done with your thumb or with something if it's going to fall off, because you want to stick your needle in straight. It's like you're knitting the back loop. Wrap around and pull through. I'll do that again at the next stitch marker, but the instructions are to slip your marker, and now we're knitting front. So 3/4, go in normally, wrap around or pick, pull that wrap around back through, stop, take your needle, your right needle to the back to stick under the back side of the stitch, wrap around, duck under. Now it can come off the needle. Again, we have balance here. I'll meet you at the next stitch marker. That was time 2. Let's head for time 3. Okay, here I am again. So let's practice this knit back front. So we're going to come with our right needle and we're going to slip the stitch knitwise, which puts the back of the stitch in front, and then slip it back over to the left needle by just sticking the left needle straight under and knit what has been moved to the front but was the back of the needle. You can let it come off your left needle. And then we need to scoop from the back this front strand that crosses over, scoop it up on your left needle and knit it straight through, not twisting. So it's like kind of like you're knitting the back loop of what you picked up. Let's go over, slip your marker, then knit front and back. Again, stick your needle normally in as if to knit. That front part, wrap around your pick, pull that through, stop before you let it come off, come over to do the back side, knit the back side, and let it come off. Okay, 4th time. Let's take a look at to knit the back and the front. We need to come and slip this knitwise over to the right needle. Slide it back over by sticking your left needle straight in. Knit what has been twisted into the front. Now take your left needle, stick it under the front strand of what's below here from back to front. Catch it and knit the back loop of that. Slide your marker, regular knit front and back. So knit the front regularly, but stop before you take it off. Stop before that 4th step. Take your needle to the back, stick it under the back loop side, knit that, let it come off. Now you're going back to your beginning of round marker, which is over here, and following the instructions for how many successions of round 1, which we just went over, and round 2, before you do a certain number of only round 1. And then you might be ready to separate your sleeves. So thanks for joining us for that video on placing your markers and doing your increases, which if I can get the light to pick up, puts purl bumps in a way, puts your increases on what looks like 1 stitch away from the marker on either side, nice and balanced. That knit back front is a little tricky. If you can't get the hang of it, you can do a knit front and back for both of these. You'll end up, instead of having 1 stitch on either side of the marker here, you'll only have, so 2 stitches total, right? You'll only have 1 stitch between your purl bump increases, but it will still look just fine. If you'd rather do a knit front and back, it'll look a little different than she designed it, but it will still function and serve its purpose for getting your increases in on the right rows. So thank you for joining me for that. And before we go, join the Facebook group. I'll put it in the comments. If you're on Facebook and would like help from other knitters, especially as I can't get back to everybody's questions and I can't necessarily make a video for everything. I would like to, but I'm doing it in my off hours when I'm not working full-time at the yarn shop. So I love helping people knit. I love helping people and crochet and progress. I can't do it all though. There's a lot of you guys and I love it. And there's one of me. So also we are providing this free of charge. We're providing this service. The knit along doesn't cost anything. We love it if you buy yarn from us for the knit along, but it's not required to be part of the group. These videos, there's no charge for these videos. If you would like help in person, there is a lesson fee at the shop if you're local and can get to in-person lessons for assistance on this. Nothing beats having someone help you in person. I totally get that. If you'd like to support the work we're doing It always helps to subscribe, and there's no charge for that. But if you'd like to support all the work that we're putting in at Sundragon for all of these events and all of these videos, you can also consider becoming a member here. That's a monthly subscription, or going over to Patreon and signing up for a monthly subscription. There are some perks to either one. You can check out your options. It's by no means required, but it really does help us have the time and energy to do the work we have to do if you can consider a donation to the shop. And that's a wonderful way to make a donation. So either way, thank you for your support. If you can, just give us a thumbs up or write a comment on this video. That's really helpful too, actually. So join us for the next video. When we're done with this Ranunculus series, we'll be heading back into the videos that involve our whiteboards and have a little bit more extensive explanation for different techniques. Please give us suggestions. Know if they're on really specific patterns. If it's not something the shop is doing, we may not be able to assist with that. We could give you advice on where to look for assistance though. As I always like to sign off, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.